I asked you at home, is the special relationship over? Alison says yes, the special relationship with America is over, at least while Keir Starmer is Prime Minister. He should have supported President Trump. And Oliver says it certainly feels like it's over. No Prime Minister since whose crisis has bungled our standing with America, quite like Starmer. Now, Cyprus. The British base is our sovereign territory. They have been attacked. But Starmer today says we're about to do something. Yes, we're going to send. We're fully committed to the security of Cyprus and British military personnel based there. We're continuing our defensive operations. And I've just spoken to the President of Cyprus and let him know we are sending helicopters with counter-drone capabilities, and HMS Dragon is to be employed to the region. We will always act in the interests of the UK and our allies. Well, yeah, so we should, because in 1960, we gave a treaty of guarantee to Cyprus. This is at the end of the colonial period. Article 2, the UK pledged to guarantee the independence, territorial integrity and security of Cyprus. I'm joined by James Glancy, former Royal Marine CEO of Outpost Studios, in the studio. Tell you what's remarkable. We've seen the massive American build-up. We've all been expecting something to happen. Yet it would appear there was no Royal Naval vessel anywhere in the Mediterranean.
Nigel, this is a scandal. It really should bring down Keir Starmer. The fact that they've had weeks and weeks of telegraphing that this operation is going to happen. USS Lincoln went forward. USS Forward went forward. Huge amounts of ordnance and military equipment has gone forward. I was with the State Department a couple of weeks ago, and they said it's quite likely. I don't have any extra briefings than that. So Britain knew it was going to happen. Yeah. And we did not take the basic precautions of protecting our troops. Families live around Akrotiri. So this is gross negligence. And I'm confident PGHQ, the military, would have given options to the Prime Minister, bring back the Astute-class submarine from Australia, put a T-45 out there. But let's be honest, this also goes back decades. Underfunding. We should have had 12 Type 45 destroyers. We have 6. Only 2 available. This started really...
Well, because they're only 2 operational.
Because they go through... Really, if you've got... to have 1 available, you really need 2 more behind it. It's 3 for 1. That's why the original plan was to buy 12. But of course, when it came to the David Cameron government with George Osborne, they made huge cuts, 25% cuts to our armed forces, to procurement programs, to the numbers of personnel. And now, finally, the chickens have come home to roost. You can't really call it a navy. Because
I've got to say, we talked in the previous block about the special relationship and the war of words now with Trump to Starmer. But actually, do the Americans respect us anymore?
If you see what Trump said, you see what Pete Hegseth said yesterday, he's made very clear that there is no respect, 1, for the relationship, but 2, for capability. They respect power, they respect capability. Yeah. The new special relationship is Israel-America. Ours is historic, it's gone. Until there's a change of the Starmer regime, it's history.
1960 treaty, Michael.
Yep.
International law.
I think the Americans still respect our people, our military personnel, but what they don't respect, of course, is the current government, it's understandable.
Actually, fine, but interrupt for a moment. Or our capability at the end of the last government.
That's right. But when dealing with our people, they know that our armed forces are amongst the best in the world. We just don't have enough of them, and they haven't had the resources. But what I would say is this. We have an obligation to Cyprus, both under the 1960 treaty, where we promised to help with their security or have regard to their security, but also morally. And we keep sovereign bases there with, I believe, thousands of British military personnel. So we have both a legal and a moral obligation, but we took the eye off the ball here. It was patently obvious that Cyprus was a threat. Everybody knew, all the relevant actors knew, that Iran had a missile capability capability that included medium-range ballistic missiles. They don't quite yet have intercontinental ballistic missiles, but they had missiles that could reach Cyprus. I talked about it on air on this channel.
But it's not just that, it's their proxies. So that Shaheed drone would have come from Lebanon.
Yes, but it's the same thing.
We know this.
Hezbollah, but Hezbollah, it's the same thing. Hezbollah is funded by Iran, so it's basically under a different name.
I mean, the whole situation, Joe, is an embarrassment. Cyprus, whatever we think of the American-Israeli action, what is happening in Cyprus now is for us a total embarrassment. And we've now got the French and Greek Navy standing by an RAF base.
But I think what James said is absolutely right. I mean, we have decimated our defence capability over generations. And it's very hard for politicians of any colour to say, well, we're going to spend this. It's like house insurance. Nobody wants to spend the money because they'd rather spend it on something else. And this is beyond the wake-up call that we've already had from Trump and previous American presidents that we've got to pay more.
It's not even a wake-up call, because today the Chancellor has not offered any new funding despite this crisis. Where is the defence investment plan?
Absolutely.
Months and months later.
By the way, we have a British base in Bahrain as well. We're not talking about that.
Yeah, no, there were several across the Middle East.
I was
that's
based
under
there.
threat. Yeah,
I was based there over a decade ago. You know, it's under 30, probably under 30, 40 miles away from Iran. We've been prepared for this threat, and yet in the last few months we've decommissioned a frigate which is sat there lying up, ready to be scrapped. Would you believe? We've only got one mine hunter,
but James,
even though that we know...
It's only when something like this happens, James, that the public...
Can I just say...
I've made myself unpopular with the MOD by warning about this for over a decade.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but I think it's only when...
I am going to disagree, because I'm going to say this. It was a deliberate decision. It wasn't about our lack of capacity. Keir Starmer and his government deliberately decided they weren't going to get themselves involved in this. They wanted to stand back and not deliberately chose. We could have moved a warship towards Cyprus. We didn't do so. We didn't have many available, but we could have moved the one that's being moved now. It was an active decision because they knew in advance we're not going to help the Americans out here. They've let everybody else fight their battles for them. And Netanyahu and Trump are fighting for Western civilization, while under Keir Starmer, the British government sits...
Something else that this government has done. Their SDR went through, has talked about this NATO first strategy. They have pretty much secretly got rid of the global Britain concept. Essentially what they said in the SDR is, we're no longer global and we're no longer going to operate really past Cyprus even. That's why they got rid of the amphibious platforms. That's why they're concentrating on the high north. They're trying to tie us into European defence structures
isn't it interesting?
So we can't operate unilaterally. They have completely destroyed us.
A lot of the decision-making has been in conjunction, it seems, with the French and the Germans, although they announced their decisions more quickly than us. I think you're right. I think we've actually seen his move over the last couple of months towards the concept of European defence.
But that's because we can't trust America.
No, we can trust America. When it comes to the big stuff, we can trust America.
More than the French.
Certainly more than trusting our European colleagues.